this is Brad, Jack of all Ventures, and I'm up here at the top of my ladder, and I'm gonna make another quick video on politics. Maybe not so quick. I don't know exactly how long this will take, but I'm definitely concerned about how some things are going on in our country. A little over a year ago, I went to a Trump rally, and last time I was up on this ladder making a political video, and I had the flag blown in the background. Unfortunately, now it is blown off, and one note is this pole needs to be a little bit longer because the flag could still reach down here, down in this area, and got caught on this and started whipping in the wind and ended up down there. Anyways, what I probably should be doing is getting my Tesla Model X down there. Come on, ready to go to Mexico, because I'm going to be driving it through Mexico. And experimenting with that. I haven't found any other YouTubers that have made this trip to Cancun and getting east out the Yucatan Peninsula and finding charging. So I don't know. Hopefully I'm a little bit prepared, but not a lot prepared. So hopefully I don't get myself stuck doing that. But instead, I'm up here because Monday. I guess today is Wednesday. So on Monday, I got an interesting comment to one of my Facebook posts, and I'm gonna try to read. This is what my post says. So again, this is going to be fairly political, and I really would like to entertain discussion on this too, because I think it's really important what's going on with our country right now, that we look at the reality of what's going on, not necessarily what we would hope and like it to be. And I guess I got my opinion, so I'm going to try to keep them to myself as much as I can. I mean, clearly some of it will come through, and I also realize that these are just my opinions, and it's from me observing the world as it is, or presented to me. And then I guess one of the really big things I want to make a point, and I'm going to bring it up right in the beginning. So my biggest point is we live in two separate echo chambers in this world. People that vote conservative and are proud to have Trump as their president, and people that are liberal and hate Trump being our president, or are disappointed that Harris or somebody else isn't there. But pretty much one of the things that bother me most is the culture of hatred around President Trump, or future President Trump, or past President Trump. I guess he's not President Trump yet. And whether it's right or wrong to feel that way is debatable. But what I want to point out here that I think is so important is the reason people feel this way is because of echo chambers. Whether you like him or you hate him, it's pretty much because of what you take as the truth and who you're considering, how confident you are in who's telling you what, and the fact that you believe who's telling you what is what I think you need to question. And I mean, basically, I'm going to talk about my friend that was only a Facebook friend. I never actually met him in person. Probably mostly friends because we got Tesla stuff in common. And, we agreed on some things through some comments. I think it was even after 2016 that I'm sure it was, because I hardly used Facebook until 2018. So I'm not super big on social media, but I kind of got interested in it after I got my Model X in 2018. I guess I used social media because I didn't know anybody else with Teslas at the time. Now they're all over the place. Imagine that. I made a pretty good observation back before they were popular that they're a pretty good car. Hopefully that doesn't alienate anybody, but my channel is a lot on Teslas, so it is what it is. All right, I'm going to get on with this because I've already kind of jabbered for over 4.5 minutes. And I kind of want to do this, and it's not going to be super quick, but my post says, "Oh my God, this is so preposterous. Now I almost need to edit that out, but screw it, I can't talk perfectly all the time anyways, that it really helps me understand why our country is so divided. If you watch this with no other knowledge and no ability to think for yourself, you will be lost and a puppet. And what I shared was, and I'll put it in the description, the link to it. It's an MSNBC thing that was on YouTube about Professor Snyder. Trump's pick suggests an attempt to make the government dysfunctional. And the typical content that I consume is not negative towards President Trump. So there's a clue for you. But I also don't believe all the content that I consume either, because I have a thing of saying, he's not that bad, but he's not that good either. So the reality is kind of in the middle, and that's where I try to live my life, is in reality. And I feel like if you watch the news, you're not in reality either way you watch it, because it's so biased. And I don't know exactly when that started to happen, but I guess I'm going to tangent for a second. When it really started happening for me is in 2016 when Trump became president. Because for me initially, I believed mainstream media, and they clearly told me that Hillary was going to win the election, and he had nothing to worry about. It was in the bag. And, she's the best person, and Trump's a complete freaking moron, and why would anyone vote for Trump? And I don't know, I kind of watched it a little bit as just a regular voter, and, much less educated back then than as I am now. And, I wouldn't say I'm completely proficient now either, but I pay attention to politics a little bit more than I used to. And when I went in the voting booth, I made a last-minute decision just to check Trump. And I didn't really want him to be president, but he was going to lose anyways. So what the heck? Throw it out there. And I watched in horror that night in 2016, because I was watching it, and, they're all happy. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win. This is so great. This is so great. And then I just stayed awake all night that time. It's the first time I've ever watched for election results, because typically I just never cared. But this time I'm watching it, and I'm seeing the tide turn, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Because I voted for this guy, and this is going to be terrible. He's going to be president. This is going to be a horrible situation. But so I watched in horror throughout the night, and then watched him come up for his speech. And it's another thing, another real quick tangent. I really want to get some old video of Melania's reaction, because what I remember of her reaction that night was, oh my God, you were not going to win this. This is really happening. You won. This is going to ruin my life. I did not want you to win. You won? Oh my God, this is going to be horrible. That's what I thought Melania was thinking. I could be right or wrong on that, but like to bring up some old video and maybe make a separate video on that one. But anyways, so Trump won the election, and I was like, this is going to be horrible. And for a month or two after that, I was just thinking, you know what? Maybe it won't be so bad, but I still wasn't happy about it. And I guess I guess we'll wait and see. And then once he became president, there was I believe that the biggest problem with him being president is the people that didn't like him, as opposed to actually what he did. And that's just kind of watching and feeling the economy and intuition and whatever. I just didn't think it was all that bad. And then as years went on, I don't know, a couple little things that were, but I clearly, I guess this is an important point for me. Clearly in 2016, on that night, I learned that the media did not present reality. The reality of the situation was Trump had a lot of support, and he had enough support to win the election. Maybe not with the popular vote, but definitely had enough support to make it super competitive. And there was no doubt that, a lot of people supported him at that point. And that was reality, but the news did not portray that. And the reaction to it, too, was what really bothered me, because instead of accepting the fact that he was president, it became like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. We need to do everything in our power to shut him down. And I believe that the liberals have good intentions when they believe that he's so horrible, because they think he is horrible, and all they watch is media that makes him look worse than he really is. And he does have his flaws, some significant ones, and it makes it really easy for them to make him look even worse. And the fact is, they do that, and I believe intentionally. There's a few things, there's several different things, but the one that's more clear than any other, and finally, I've been saying this for years, the Charlottesville speech that he gave when he said there was fine people on both sides. He clearly did not mean white nationalists and neo-Nazis, or whatever negative term you want to give the bad guys, And he specifically pointed that out, said it. But the news media, the mainstream news media, that is not accurate, did not tell you that I'm aware of anyways, because, maybe there are sometimes but the little bit I watch mainstream media, it's pretty clear that they don't want to give the whole story to make them look that bad. And the Democratic Party, and even all the way up to the last debates, were telling people that he's called fine people on both sides. So he didn't. He flat out didn't. And anytime somebody says that he did, they are intentionally lying, because it is clear to anybody that watches that full speech that he was not talking about those people. What most of middle America would consider the bad guys, he was not calling the bad guys fine people. Now, you can debate all the crap you want, and people do, but the honest fact of his words are he did not call them fine people. So that's the main one. But once you know that one, and you start watching the media with an open mind, and clearly, once you're biased to something and you're aware of something, then you start seeing it more than you really do. Like, if you notice at Christmas, or, I'm going to not shoot from the hip very clear on that, but if you notice there's a fire truck somewhere, and then all of a sudden you think that never happens, but then you drive around and you're like, oh, there is one there, and there is one there, and there is one there. So your mind will lead you into seeing something. Once you might have been blind to it, but your mind will start focusing on things that aren't actually as prevalent, or maybe you end up making them more prevalent. But it is incredibly obvious what the mainstream media does when they report the news, and they do intentionally twist his words and don't give you full context to make him look worse than he really is. And that's pretty much fact if you want to look into it. And if you want to call me an idiot for saying that, go right ahead. You're entitled to your opinion, but I think it's clear and convincing in my book anyway. So I don't think I'm spreading misinformation, and I guarantee you most of the country, or a lot of the country anyways, is aware of this and will not dispute it. Only if you're blind to it, and you trust in reporters that should have the right intentions, that should admit to Trump saying there were fine people on both sides, and he meant the people that were there just to protest the statue being taken down and wanted to be peaceful, and had a philosophical argument against taking the statues down, whether they should or shouldn't. But everybody, those are things that aren't fact or fiction. Those are opinions, and people are allowed to have their opinions, and you need to be able to discuss your opinion openly in a public forum without being censored and shared. And then the best opinions get brought for debate, and far off the opinions shouldn't be brought up for debate. And that's actually the reason I'm making this, and I'm already 14 minutes into it, so I'm sorry that I'm babbling so long, and hopefully it's coherent enough that it's worth listening to this point. But we argue on the extremes. It's like the extremes of abortion case. Just considering abortion, most people are in the middle. It's like, at what point should there no longer be allowed to have an abortion? And instead of trying to argue for something practical like 3 months, or I'm just throwing something out there. I'm not that involved in that particular debate to really have an exact opinion when that should happen. But I know that it shouldn't be like all the way up to the end, or, not at all. So, but it seems like the national media and everybody else, they're making this all about one extreme or the other. And healthy conversation, you need to work the middle to find out something that's as close to being fair for everybody, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And that's why I'm up on the ladder, because of my friend that unfriended me. Finally, 15 minutes into this, I'm actually going to get. So he made a comment Monday night, and I don't know, the post was a day or two old when he finally made this comment. I'm going to read it word for word. Hi, Brad. I hope all is well, truly. I have been seeing more and more of your content popping into my feed. The latest was this MSNBC clip talking about the potential intent behind Trump's cabinet picks. If you want to defend the appointment of Matt Gaetz to Attorney General, that is your right. However, calling those of us puppets because we refuse to accept that Trump is picking people based on merit and ability is not fair. I won't go so far as to say that I fully understand his strategy, but choosing the most qualified is not it when he chooses someone like Matt Gaetz to defend the rule of law. Matt Gaetz, like MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is a disgrace to public office. He should be kept as far from the government as possible, running the Justice Department, and you are labeling folks who are in opposition to this puppets. All right, that's the first paragraph of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, approximately 10 paragraphs, but that's a longer one. There's most of the other ones are shorter. I'm going to make it. I'm going to decide whether I want to read the rest at the moment. But that was my first good stopping point. The main thing I want to say about this here is my post was about Tulsi Gabbard, not about Matt Gaetz. And so right away, he's commenting without actually even seeing what my post was about, because if you would have watched the video, Matt Gaetz is never even brought up. And later you'll hear in my response what I think of Matt Gaetz. I don't really know anything about Matt Gaetz. So I'm going to continue to read his as quick as I can. I don't think you and I will agree on accuracy of sources at this point, but I am not willing to engage with you political debate either way. Your side has won full control of the government. Those you support will get a chance to implement more tax cuts, have global influence to other superpowers, let Ukraine suffer from the unjust Russian invasion, deport hardworking immigrants, and continue to let large corporations and those who lead them, like Musk, have greater influence in politics and more freedom to consolidate wealth at the top. Project 2025 is going to be largely implemented. The ACA is on the chopping block, and access to Social Security at a reasonable age threatened, to say the least. I believe in a stronger social contract where people care about the well-being of those around them. I don't know where you stand on this, but I do believe you have nothing but good intentions. I thank them for that. After hiking across the U.S. 3 times and being supported by people with different beliefs than entire belief systems, I think most Americans are inherently good people that do care about each other. And I totally agree with that. I mean, he's making some really good points. And part of the point of me reading this word for word is I do respect what he has to say. I mean, he's not just running at the mouth and creating conflict for no good reason, which often happens on Facebook. I mean, this is a genuine guy talking about what he believes, and that's why it really concerns me, honestly. All right, I'm going to continue with what he wrote. I mean, but I believe GOP leadership as well as foreign leadership with intent to divide America are misinforming many folks as possible. I don't have any opinion on whether they are doing this together or in some sort of conspiracy. So here he's saying something that, and this is one of my points, is if I say this without saying GOP in front of it, I believe leadership as well as foreign leadership with the intent to divide America is misinforming as many folks as possible. Those who support Trump will say, yeah, that's what the left is doing. those that hate Trump will say, no, that's what he's doing. So the point is this is like they're playing a football game and they're throwing passes instead of running the ball. And yeah, I guess it's legal that they go to these extremes and make people believe terrible things by putting out what may or may not be misinformation. And controlling the misinformation is very important. And it's actually still the real point of me being up here and making a big deal of this is people's opinions are not necessarily misinformation. I mean, he wants to call me out as spreading misinformation, and I try as hard as I can to stay in the middle and report the reality of what I see going on in the world. And unfortunately, right now, and I do say unfortunately because I am disappointed that somebody with the flaws of Donald Trump is the best person we have for president right now, according to the country. And that's not necessarily my opinion. That's fact. You know, he won the election clearly this time. So that is, I don't know, that's just not misinformation. I don't know if it's necessarily a fact because, I mean, all kinds of things can go into that. And maybe some people didn't vote that wanted to vote and da-da-da-da-da. But the point is, it is fact that he won the election, and the Democrats have, you know, admitted to that or agreed to that or whatever, and they're moving on. It's just going to be interesting to see how they do move on going forward. All right, here's where it gets to the real point, though. All of this to say, I need to unfriend you so that you and your content are not purposely suggested to anyone in my friend list. I think fighting misinformation is the most important thing for us to focus on as a society. And I think it's a significant, difficult problem to go about fighting misinformation. The problem is how you do it and who gets to decide what misinformation is. And clearly, I believe so much differently than him of what misinformation is. Anyways, unfortunately, it is my strong belief that you are misinforming people regularly. And that's where it kind of does get a little bit personally and really upsets me. But I'm objective, and, you know, it's his right and his opinion to say something like that. I totally get it. And so you have a right to promote whatever content you want, but I have the right to protect my network. I have a problem with that statement right there. And as you get into how this whole conversation unfolds completely, which is you hang out for it, it's going to take a lot longer than I thought, because we're already almost 23 minutes into this. I don't mean for this to be personal, though I imagine it will feel that way. No, it doesn't. Sorry, dude. I don't. The reason I'm in this more up here talking about it is because I don't take it personally, and that'll be more clear later. I truly wish you the best, Brad, and if I saw you in person, I'd still greet you with a genuine smile and handshake. Take care. I'll unfriend you in a few days in case you feel the need to respond. So definitely opening the door for me to respond. And of course, you know, if you know me very well, you know I'm going to do it. So I seen this in the evening when I was already out and about, and I couldn't even wait to respond. Maybe that's a flaw on my part. Anyways, I respond with, thank you for giving me a chance to respond. I will say I am disappointed you want to unfriend, as it is important to get both sides. I am actually surprised to hear Facebook is putting my post in your feed. I did this video the morning of the election, and the comment to a comment, which is buried kind of deep, and, you know, I didn't get very many views to this video I'm referring to, which hopefully maybe I'll get a little bit more if anyone cares. I correctly called out, or I don't know, I guess I called that I was hoping for Trump to win in a landslide, and it to be a big enough defeat that, you know, wouldn't cause problems. And I predicted that I thought that it might. And it's much shorter than this video, by the way, but still probably longer than most people want to watch. Did this morning, and a comment out of the comments, because I typically do get a lot of left-wing people commenting. The other video that I did over a year ago that actually got some attention when I was standing up here after I went to Trump rally, I had a lot of comments on that one. It's like the only chance I actually had to. And then I got to deal with experiencing the exposure of allowing your opinion and letting people beat you up on it, and trying to be secure and confident in your own opinion enough to keep putting it back out there. And I guess I'm still up here kind of doing that. I do agree with most people are good and are pulled to the extremes of our politics. Both sides push misinformation. That's a big key. I totally agree with that. If you trust either side, I am concerned. Let that, maybe I'm pissing off both sides right now with that statement, but really, I want people to work towards the middle anyways, because I don't think we're as divided as, it feels like we are because of the echo chambers that we have going on. I don't have time to give a good reply now, but I appreciate the chance to talk about it. And then I share my video, which if I actually proactive enough, I'll put a link to that in the description too. But so then the next morning, I write this one, and it's probably at least as long as his comment. So I try to put as much energy in it as he did. I said, okay, now I got time. I do really hope you reconsider. You wrote a lot and honestly too much to reply to. So let's start at the beginning. Did you watch the video I shared here? It doesn't mention Matt Gaetz. Why would you assume I am defending him? I am defending Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know shit about Matt Gaetz, other than he is low-hanging fruit if you want to be critical of the Trump's picks. So I can't comment about him. What information do you consider misinformation? I guess I could review my own post. But I can assure you, if you want to stay on subject, I can defend what I post. I have followed Tulsi Gabbard since she ran for president in 2020. She appears to be a good human to me. In the middle of your comment, you mentioned the war in Ukraine. How much have you looked into the details of why Russia would start a war and the Russian people support it? The Biden administration's policies help push them into it. One other thing to address, and I am going to move on because there is too much here for one comment. I am not on any side. Yes, the right has won full control. I, like many other Americans, have agreed it is the better choice. I try to give reasons why I feel that way I do. I could be wrong. It's very important. I could be believing liars. That's very important. It takes a lot of effort to figure out whether someone's lying to you or not. I am aware of that. And then are you? Is he aware that he might be believing liars? I don't think he is. You appear to have a side and you trust them. I used to be more trusting too. In 2016, I believe Hillary, I guess I could have saved talking about this before. I believe Hillary was a shoo-in, best choice, because that is what the media told me. Well, I cannot know if she was the best choice or not, but I can know that she lost, and therefore the media was wrong and did not accurately represent the truth, also known as pushing misinformation. Is this because the national media didn't know what they were pushing was wrong? I guess it matters, but I can't know the answer to that question. What I do know is they were wrong, and Hillary did not win easily. Yes, it was a prediction, but it was a very big mistake. I cannot exactly explain my thoughts and process and what my intuition has told me since 2016, but it is clear that the media still pushes a narrative as opposed to reporting reality. I strongly believe that. I think there's a lot of evidence for that. I may not necessarily like reality, and I am not excited that a person like Donald Trump, with all his flaws, has the support he needs to get elected in a landslide. However, it is reality. So I challenge you to show anything that I have presented on my Facebook account that is misinformation. We can talk about Tulsi on this post, but not Matt. Maybe I was wrong about her, and if you have some credible reason to question my beliefs, I will gladly entertain them. You seem to be a reasonable, smart guy. I am concerned why you feel the need to unfriend. This is actually kind of interesting. I forgot what I've actually said too, and I like when I reread my own stuff and still agree with it. I guess I can rant on for another minute because this is important. Why unfriend? You say because you don't want me to spread misinformation to your friends. Do you not trust your friends to be rational people? Should they be able to make their own decisions? Shouldn't they be able to make their own decisions? Or are you concerned they might not like you hearing me out? The left has become the side of intolerance. If you feel the pressure to unfriend me because of that, you should really think about it. Echo chambers are not good. Anyone trying to keep you in one is not good. Are you trying to keep your friends in an echo chamber? And if you look back at where I kind of mentioned a couple of what he said, he is. He doesn't want his friends exposed to what I have to say. So I actually start to question his intentions more. It's just, when I think through this logically, that's what, I'm not unfriending him. Anyway, we'll keep going. As far as I know, I only know one of your friends. He would be on your side. How many people do you know that would admit to voting for Trump? If you don't know many, then think about why you think so poorly of him. Misinformation or not, you likely only hear the bad and not the good. It is not all bad, and there is some good. I don't have many friends that will announce they voted for Harris. I don't want to lose the ones I do have, but do what you feel you must. And he didn't actually respond to this. He didn't respond to that publicly. I got a couple other people that kind of chimed in, or just actually one. Anyways, but I did go and look at his, his Facebook page, and I seen his concerns the day after the election on why he's so worried about what's America's future, and I understand. I mean, he's an intelligent guy, drives a Tesla, and at least I think he does. I know he did for a little while, and but then I took it private, and because I guess you know who I am, but he should still be anonymous. Of course, if he watches this, he'll know who he is, but I don't even know if he'll watch this. Oh, come on. I want to go find private. So after I looked at his things, I didn't want to comment on his Facebook page because I really feel that it's one of the problems with the left is, they don't like hearing anything they don't agree with, and they won't even entertain it but maybe that's not true. I mean, the people on the left think the same thing about the people on the right, and honestly, I think they have a valid argument too, because a lot of people on the right don't want to hear anything that the left has to say, and I truly feel that I tried to look at both sides. I don't know how much I do, but I do realize that I don't know everything, and I might be missing something whenever. But I also see that both sides push the bullshit. Anyways, all right, this is public, this is private now, and I don't care. I already commented that I looked at your profile. I wish Facebook would put more of your stuff in my feed. I thought it best to send you an instant message instead of commenting, as I understand any opposing views might not be appreciated from your friends. Just know that there are a lot of smart people on both sides. I will be watching with you about your concerns. I will say I honestly believe that the first two concerns will be better under Trump for the world's sake, and I think you would agree that it is better for the world for me to be right. His first two things were the war in Ukraine and Gaza. It is not misinformation that the left is proud to have Dick Cheney on their side. How do you feel about that? Look into Tulsi if you don't know much about her. So I'm trying to engage him in intelligent conversation, so we can actually debate the issues where they lie, as opposed to. So let's see if he engages me in. Do you think he'll engage me on the subject matter, or is he going to take this to elsewhere? Clue. He goes elsewhere, and he goes in a hole that really puts himself in a bad place. Brad, I do appreciate your outreach, and I do think you have good intentions. That said, I have thought long and deeply about how I want to spend my time now that Trump has won and interacting with you is unfortunately not something I want to do moving forward. He's perfectly fine to do that, and he could do that without this conversation. But I do appreciate him having this conversation with me, honestly. It does give me insight and reason for concern for the world, though, and that's actually why I'm making this video. The next paragraph starts out, I will not be attempting to influence the minds of people who are being misinformed, regardless of whether I think they are good people. And for the record, I truly believe you are a wonderful human being, Brad. So he's telling me right there that he's right, I'm wrong, and I'm being misinformed, and he's not going to try to help me be, he's not going to try to help me believe as he does, which, is very respectable, because that usually don't go very well. And maybe I am guilty of trying to bring him to see my side, but I think that's the point of political debate anyways, is just to try to, if you don't have the confidence in what you believe, then that could be a good philosophical argument or whatever, but I believe in what I say, and I'm not doing it because anything I post, which is not the extreme goofy ass crap, which will be pretty evident here in a second, because I'm trying to work people into the middle, and hopefully I'm still doing that with this video. All right, so, but I also see you being misinformed. So I'm misinformed here, and even when you realize it, you still leave it up, your post, for discussion. So this is going to be on a specific post that it's going to be real clear here, the point I'm trying to make. Again, I don't think you have ill intentions. Look at your recent post about the Tesla electric motorcycle. Tesla did not release an electric motorcycle, yet you posted content about it and have not taken it down. So he's making a pretty big assumption that is not fact. It is totally false. That statement there is false. Harmless in this case, but it is an indicator of how you choose to consume and share content. And I love that he puts that in there, because when I share the content or share my responses to what he's referring to, it is so right on, and proves him wrong. I've shared my concerns with you doing this before, and it is clear that you value posting the content without proper verification. So just stay tuned, because I want to read all his words first before I really. The people who consume your content may not verify it themselves. Not everyone has the time or ability to do so, Brad. And at the same time, you are telling your network that your content is more trustworthy than news sources that are under much more scrutiny and pressure, which you dismiss as mainstream media. Yeah, I openly say that I do that. I just did that here. And I did this when, I'm not going over it again. You've already heard me go over. There's way more than just find people on both sides. I am not angry with you or emotional, Brad. It's just being practical. I don't want you or your content to be suggested to my friends, if at all possible. So he's censoring me to his friends. He's not letting his friends hear what I want to say. And I question that as why. That's the biggest reason I'm still up here. It's nothing personal. It's just, this is a problem I see on the left, is they put themselves in an echo chamber and they will not listen to any reason for debate. It blows my mind. The only way for me to do that effectively is to unfriend you. It doesn't mean I wouldn't sit down to coffee or a meal with you sometime. I imagine we would have a lot in common to talk about. Electric vehicles, for one thing. If you want to understand my opinion on the political landscape of this country, I'd highly recommend one source in particular, Heather Cox Richardson. I don't know, have you guys heard of her at all? I have not heard of her, but I do plan to look her up when I get time. Of course, it's going to take time, and when I'm driving to Mexico, it's going to be 4 or 5 day trip. I'm going to have a lot of time to check that out. Anyways, currently a professor in Boston College, formerly at MIT. She's published a number of books on American history, and since 2019 has published a newsletter that does an incredible job of connecting history to current events. I'm really going to be interested in it genuinely and see what I think, and I'm going to try to go into it with an open mind and do my best to hold out my biases on what I believe. There is no reason to take my word for things or to dive into my post, Brad. No, I disagree with that. I think it's worthwhile to hear what other people are saying. It's like when I seen his morning after post, I thought it was interesting to hear what people had to say. And I actually respect the way he reports it, even though I don't agree with it. So he is definitely somebody that I would prefer to see their content as opposed to a couple of my other leftist friends that put out stuff that's radical and ridiculous and not even... Anyways, he actually... I don't know what your opinion of this, but I think he's being very respectable and sharing his opinions, even though I significantly disagree with you. I'm a consumer of content, not a creator. Yeah, clearly you consume what you want to consume. I am an interpreter, not a source. Exactly. Losing access to me is no consequence. I disagree there. Learning from Heather would be a step forward, Brad, and I highly encourage you to do so. All right, here's what religious ideologies. That's something that people with religious ideologies say all the time. Don't take it from me. I've heard the word of God. You need to talk to this expert, and that expert preacher, religion pusher, specific religion pusher, will push you to believe what I believe. I will use them. That's, and typically the left are not people, they accuse the right of being religious, and the left is not religious. I mean, just stereotypically, not the case in every single case, for sure. But stereotypically, the left is more secular and the right's more religious. So, but I mean, they're basically doing the same tribal, realistic instincts. Hopefully that's not too burning on the airplane noise. That people do. And that's what you need to be aware of to observe reality. That you're going to fall into these stuff. I mean, human beings are tribalistic and they want to believe things and team up with other people that believe the same things. That's what's creating this divide. And, I guess still why I'm speaking out up here. Losing access to me is no consequence. Learning from Heather would be a step forward, Brad, and I highly encourage you to do so. Her audiobooks would be a great companion on one of your road trips. Take care, Brad. I wish you only the best. And here's where it's good for me. Holy cow, I'm 42 minutes into this. Anyone that's still listening to me, thank you very much. Interesting specific case. Can you send me a link to the Tesla motorcycle post? Because I am pretty sure I was tagged in that one. And the person that tagged me, I told them it was fake. Check it out. And I'm going to pause this so I can... All right, I'm going to try to show you this exact post so you can see it. And very important thing here that I really appreciate, I don't know, I can't see it over here, but you can see that it says it's false. It says it's false. When I seen this, it didn't show it being false. And my friend sent it to me and tagged me and it said, $1,000, huh? Interesting. Brad Cope, what do you think? So he's actually tagging me in this. I'm not posting this on my own, like, I was accused of. And it's actually a friend that respects my opinion enough to say, hey, what do you think? So here's my comments to it. And this is what I find so... My first thought, this is bullshit. When I get a minute, I will look closer. So my friend says, yeah, I'm at work. Just seen this on break. Need to look into it myself. So then, I don't know, a few hours later or whatever, kind of like I did on this, I go to and as deep as saying, I found, and I had to watch this long, boring video like you guys are doing here. Thank you. and find out that, the bike's not likely to happen anytime soon. And yeah, they have ideas of doing it, but he's got so many ideas and so much to do, he can't get to everything. So after I watched that, I said back, this is what comes up in my quick search. Talks about bike possibilities at the end of the video. I suspect my first thought was right. It's BS. Maybe someday, just not soon. So this is what he uses as an example of me pushing misinformation. I didn't even post it. I was tagged and I called it out for what it was before Facebook correctly put false information on it. And I am all for taking something that is genuinely, truly false. Like Tesla is not selling a motorcycle for $1,000. That is helpful for people that can be easily bamboozled and shouldn't happen. I mean, Facebook, not so much anymore, but for a long time, they would have advertisers putting extremely low prices on some really cool stuff. And, I don't know how long it takes people, what people's responsibilities are to figure out it's BS, but, it's somewhat people's individual responsibilities to do that. It would be nice if advertisers wouldn't put so much BS in there and push crap out the door. But, we've been dealing with stuff like that for years. I mean, as seen on TV stuff, most people get that. But anyways, so let me go back quickly to the conversation, because I this better be wrapped up in 10 minutes. Promise you I'm going to do it as fast as I can now. I said, can you find anything else? Because I was accurate there. So this is the last thing I got back from him. In that case, you are correct, Brad. Apologies. It showed up in your feed because you commented on someone's post that you are not connected to. Apologies. But there have been other times when we've had this discussion. I don't remember having an actual discussion on misinformation. I have had discussions with him based on, what I believe. I don't think he's ever called me out in the past for, putting out misinformation. However, he thinks that he does, and he doesn't see, I call him out on his bullshit right there. And then I ask for specific examples. Do you think he gives me any? That's a good question. Do you think so? But as you can see, misinformation is spread easily on Facebook, even when not intended. And who you are connected to does expose folks to content that you don't want them to be exposed to. Again, he says he does not trust his people to manage their own content. He wants to screen it for them. That disturbs me greatly. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, it's kind of how social media works. I don't know, if you're friends with somebody that posts something and tags you, it works. I think it's a good thing. I don't really think that's a bad thing, that you need to unfriend people to help protect those in your flock. Yeah, there you go. I'm calling you out. You're protecting those in your flock, and that is not a good thing. I mentioned way in the back that people try to censor information for other people. They're not necessarily good, and that's what you're doing here by unfriending me. I like the interactions that we've had in the past. I haven't had one with you for months, and honestly, they are a little stressful because you do make reasonable arguments that I want to debate with you. But it's not gonna be fun if you're so rigid. All right, I do wish you the best, Brad. It will be better use of your time to focus elsewhere, my friend. I am not willing to engage further. I am setting this boundary intentionally, and it is not personal. So at the same time he was writing that, I was writing this. So it's not like I heard that and then wrote this. I just kind of wrote this anyways. I said, that post is correctly labeled as false now, which I pointed out a minute ago, that I'm very impressed that Facebook is actually doing some accurate fact checking. Yes, misinformation spreads quickly, and you need a filter to determine what is true. The post that you used proves that I have a good filter. I think you are scared some of my thoughts that differ from yours might be true, and it is difficult to accept. Maybe I'm out of line here by saying that, but at some point it needs to be said. It took a while for me too. The national media does not accurately report news, and they intentionally persuade you to their bias. I stand behind that statement. It is backed up. If you watch the news, maybe it's backed up with my bias, but there's, I can't bring them all right to the top because I mean, just every time I watch it, I see it. I just say good luck to you. And then that was fairly early in the morning. I jumped in the shower and unfortunately couldn't get out of my head while I was in the shower, so I wrote this. And I kind of stand behind this, and he did read it, and then he unfriended me, which maybe rightfully so. I don't care. He happens to be not straight, which doesn't matter to me, but I mean, it's a fact. And that's important. And the only reason I bring it up is because it's important because I don't know, Brandon Strock, how many people know of his story? But I'm going to read what I wrote, and then I don't need to explain as much. I will check out your person. And Amanda, or wow, Heather Cox Richardson. I could be. I was just thinking it might be helpful for you to hear Brandon Strock's story. Look him up. He had a rough time with the 2016 election. He says it was harder for him to come out conservative than it was for him to come out gay in Midwest America. And he was worried about the liberal retaliation. And the liberals retaliated against him big time when he came out conservative. And, his family and, people didn't give him as hard of a time when he came out as gay. But check out Brandon Strock's story if you want. I mean, it's all public knowledge, and I mean, I'm not spreading misinformation. I'm just spreading what that guy believes, anyways, and that I pretty much agree with. I am certainly not taking you unfriending me personally. Just the opposite, because I can see the intolerance from the hypocrites that preach tolerance. You reached out to me to let me know you were unfriending me. It shows you have concerns. I am here if you ever want to talk about anything. So basically saying I'm here to be his friend. I'm not blocking him. I'm not unfriending him. It's not going to be a big problem for me either way. But I am disappointed that we cannot talk about stuff like this at a reasonable level. And I don't know. I don't know if I want to open up my Facebook post to the public and open it up or not. If I get a few comments saying, yeah, I'd really like to see your Facebook posts, maybe I'll consider it. I kind of like to limit my political stuff that I post, even though I don't see it as being too bad of a thing to share I'm a content creator. I'm not, he says he's a consumer and not a creator. I'm kind of in the middle there. I consume a fair amount, and then I create some too. And I feel like I'm not an expert by any means. I don't study this for my life, but I also know that I'm not doing it with ill intentions. I don't know anybody at the top. I could care less about anybody I don't know. I can't help anybody make money at the top. I am an unknown who cares YouTuber. I mean, my post from Tuesday morning, I think, might be up to 150 views. I mean, it's like nothing. This video probably will get no views. So I am not doing it to mislead anybody in any way. What I'm trying to do is make people think for themselves and give them reasons to think for themselves. If you don't like what I say, I don't care. I could be wrong. I know I could be wrong. I know I could be, I think in my first response is like, I could be believing liars. I don't know. But I think people like Tulsi Gabbard seems pretty reasonable. I followed Elon Musk closely for 6 years. Once I got my car, I got my car in September 2018. When I ordered it in July of 2018, it was supposed to be in at the end of August. I had a very important trip that I was taking at the beginning of September, and I really, really wanted to be able to take it on that trip. I was tired of driving myself, and I was so excited to get a car that could drive itself. And, I didn't really want to pay for gas. I wanted free electric, which they had promised was part of buying the car. I chose the X over the 3 at the time. If you know much about Tesla, back in 2018, you had a long wait for a 3, and I was able to get the X in a couple months. Well, I guess the real point of this is I don't consume too much mainstream media anymore. And I do more when I was visiting my in-laws, because that's what they do. They watch that in the mornings and stuff, and I'd get up and I'd go hang out with them, and I'd watch the TV, watch mainstream media with them. And Elon Musk smoked weed on Joe Rogan. That story broke while I was in when I was in visiting my in-laws, and I was like, wow, making a big deal of it. And so that's before I really knew too much about Elon, and I thought, my gut feeling said if I like any entrepreneur, it would probably be him more than the rest. And but I didn't know that much and didn't care. But I did watch Joe Rogan, or listen to it on the way home way back then, and I pretty much realized that it's not a major news scandal. It's not a scandal that he took a puff, maybe 2, of marijuana on a show. I mean, he was just kind of doing it to be sociable, and he's not a drug addict or anything, and he was just like, let me just see if it does anything for me. And I don't have any experience. I've never taken a puff of anything, not even nicotine or regular cigarettes or tobacco. That's the word I'm looking for. I always blow out whenever my friends try to get me to suck on them. Anyways, so I guess my main point, the point I was trying to get at, and I'm going to have to do it quick to keep it under an hour, is he said, it's better to be optimistic and wrong and pessimistic and right. And I highly disagreed with that in a moment, because one of the things I definitely disagree with Elon about, because if you're going to give a delivery date approximation, it's better to be pessimistic and wrong than optimistic and right, because I was still driving my old gas guzzler and have to actually steer my car home when I listen to him say that. And then one of the best things in my life that I almost passed on in the moment is when I picked up my X, and it's the first car I've really loved ownership of, and it really is great for me, and hopefully it gets me to Cancun, Mexico. And I am going to wrap this up and out for now. Please like and subscribe. This is probably the longest video, especially on politics, you will ever see me make. But my point is, think for yourself. Don't watch TV. And when you do it with a filter, and know that there is more to the story than what they're telling you, even on mainstream media. When we were kids, I'm 53. When we were young, the mainstream media doesn't do what it does today. And that's why somebody all flawed like Donald Trump can win that much popular support. So those on the left, wake up. That's what I'm trying to say. Just be understanding that all the people on the right are not dumb idiots. There are a lot of center-right people out there, more all the time. And it's because they see this. That's my opinion. I started seeing it after Trump got elected. And it took a while. It took years for me to get comfortable with it. I don't know if Bill see it. Oh, I didn't mean to say his name. But just first names don't matter anyways. All right, I'm out for now. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, I really appreciate it. I don't expect it to get much. I don't expect anyone to actually watch it to this point. But if you do, definitely let me know in the comments what you think. And I am out for now.